But we begin with the number 5. That's the number of voters in South Florida's District 20 that has decided the Democratic candidate for Congress. And because that district is most overwhelmingly Democratic in the state, the decision likely makes Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick the next Congresswoman from Florida. McCormick bested 10 other candidates, most with far more political experience in both machine and manual recounts, and a lawsuit challenging 3 ballots. Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick with us live. Good morning and welcome. Good to see you again.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Of course. So I want to start out with, and I hate to be a Debbie Downer here, but really your win is with a minority of voters in District 20. You won by 5 votes. The turnout was hardly 17%, Broward and Palm Beach district. So here you are facing a general election, but so many think you are the presumptive next Congresswoman. What do you tell all of the people in the district who did not vote for you?
Well, I'm extremely happy to even have won the vote. Our numbers in Palm Beach County were overwhelming, and we actually performed very well in Broward County also. And that's how we got to this place right here. Although it was a close election, we're still willing and happy to serve everyone. I ran for this seat because I knew that the people needed a voice, and a strong voice at that. And so it's overwhelming to be supported to this extent when we beat out so many elected officials, and we're happy to bring a fresh voice into Congress and to fight for the district's needs.
So let's talk about all of those people that you bested. There were 10 other candidates. 5 or 6 of them, though, to your point, were elected officials, name recognition in either Broward or Palm Beach. Sheila, you spent almost double on your campaign what all of them combined spent. So I want to talk a little bit about the role of money in politics. It's there. Your campaign certainly is an example of what that money could do. Do you acknowledge that your expenditures really do make a difference?
Well, I think that when you're a candidate who's running for this is my 3rd time running for this seat, the money we invested was to make sure that we can touch the people in the community, but the money didn't determine this election because most people who put a lot of money in the community, in the campaigns, they don't win. What our campaign was a people-centered campaign where we were able to touch most of the people in the district. And our district has over 800,000 people. So we knew in order for us to be on the ground, to be able to hire enough people, to be able to even to sustain volunteers, we needed a healthy budget. And with that budget, we were able to employ over 200 people who were working consistently, knocking on doors, getting our message out, and really involve the community. So this win is not attributed to the money, but to the people who took part and to the jobs that were created. We had so many employees who brought even people to volunteer that our volunteer base went from 20 people to 100 people. And it was a community-centered activity. We had a lot of activities and events where we encouraged the community to come out, and we bonded with them. And that's the win. It wasn't the money, it was connecting with the voters.
Okay, and not to take away any connections with voters, and I really want to be clear about that, but you were up on the air. It's really expensive to do a campaign on television. You didn't have to do it statewide, but you did have to do it in 2 counties, and you were up on the air early and often. We thank you. You advertised on our program here a lot. That got your name out there, and what we heard from District 20 residents is you had a message that really resonated with a lot of people in that you were promising a prosperity plan. I know you had a name for it, but $1,000 income, free and clear, for people making $75,000 a year or less. People remembered that. We heard that. How are you going to deliver on that?
Well, what we were proposing was an economic stimulus check for the duration of any economic downturn. Right now, with so many people who are facing issues with paying their rent, housing, we feel that the community actually really needs that. And we even came to that conclusion by talking to the people in the community. So it's definitely what we're going to bring to Congress. One of our first pieces of legislation that we're going to push towards and make sure we fund it is to ensure that our district can recover. And so that's what was important, not just the prosperity plan itself, but I think it's because we were actually on the ground listening and hearing and seeing the devastation. As I visited so many churches, I found that more and more people were living in hotels because they couldn't afford homes or even apartments, which was heartbreaking. I talked to a lot of people who said that they're about to be evicted. And so we saw the critical need to help the community. And that was the best piece of legislation that could be immediate to help the community.
So you consider yourself, you're going to head to Congress, maybe. You got to get through a January election general first. You consider yourself a progressive. I'm not big on labels here, but there's a progressive caucus in Congress. Would you label yourself that way?
Well, I'm not big on labels either. I think that labels kind of are more divisive, but I do believe in progressive policies. And our district actually needs those policies so we can thrive. So legislation that prioritize helping the urgent needs of our community, that's what I'll be pushing. And that's really what the constituents are depending on me for. How can I help them today? How can I help their families today? Not getting caught up in political fights over progressive or conservative, but can we help the people?
So you have advocated in your campaign, Medicare for All, a $20 an hour wage increase. You are a CEO of a home health care company. Do all of your employees make $20 an hour or up? Do they have benefits? What are you walking the walk?
Yes, so all of our employees get paid over $15 an hour, but most of our payments are through Medicaid and federal funding. And for the last 10 years, that's what I've been fighting in Congress, is to raise that pay rate when it comes to any Medicaid funding. Now, anyone who's not getting paid by Medicaid is definitely getting paid much more than that. And that's what we were able to do. And that's why I say that people have to really understand the power of federal contracts. We were first able to start paying more than $20 when we were able to acquire more federal contracts. And then we started helping small businesses acquire more federal contracts. And so that's what we're focusing on, bringing more businesses, bringing more funding so we can help pay that $20 minimum wage, not just taking a community right now, small businesses that are struggling to even pay $15 or $10, but let's start pushing life into these businesses so they can raise the minimum wage, so they can get paid more. But what I still feel is unacceptable is that the federal government is paying healthcare workers such a low raise, which hasn't risen in more than 10 years. That is unacceptable. Our federal government must pay our healthcare workers at least $20 an hour.
I want to just real quickly touch on the campaign. Your closest opponent, who you bested by 5 votes, Dale Holness, Commissioner of Broward County, he will be with us in the next segment. He has not, at least that we've heard here, officially conceded to you yet. Is there a message you have about that or for him?
No, not really, because we all fought hard in this campaign, and it's a calling. When you're called to run, you commit, and so everybody has their process. But I think in time, he'll come to a place where he'll make his own decision.
You had filed suit against the Broward Supervisor of Elections and the canvassing board for 3 ballots that were first rejected and then brought back and then accepted. Why file suit on that?
Well, what we saw was an inconsistency in application of the law. What happened with that recanvassing has never been done in the state before. And I felt like if we're going forward, we have to make sure that we have an equal process. And because this district is one district that lays in 2 counties, and because that was an action that has never been done with any SOE's office before, canvassing board, I felt the need for us to iron it out. There should be no room for real ambiguities when it comes to us assessing the people's voice and the people who are voting. And that's what I want to make sure, is that we're actually on the narrow path of having honest elections where, mistakes aren't being made, because anytime there's ambiguity, it can go either way. And so that's why it was important for us to challenge it and kind of figure out, what is the standard? Can you recanvass? Was that out of the peripheral, or was it out of context? What could be done? And that still has not been decided. What she did decide is that I didn't suffer harm, so there was no need to decide on it right then and there.
And not only did you not suffer harm, you actually have won the Democratic nomination for Congress. Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick, great to have you, and I hope you will be back often should you be in office.
Thank you so much for having me, Glenna, and you've been wonderful. And I thank you for having me have this opportunity. But I'm also so thankful for the voters in Broward and Palm Beach County who came out on a special election, which was an odd year, and said, you know what, the people want a different voice. So I thank you so much.
Voting is good. Thanks again. We'll see you soon.